The film Mrs. Doubtfire is about a man that is separated from his children, and he wants to get to see his children more often, like picking them up from after school during the week while his ex is at work. And his ex doesn't like that, doesn't want that. She wants to pay for a nanny. So he dresses up as a nanny in order to get to spend more time with his children, because the mother won't let him. So that's what the film Mrs. Doubtfire is about. Oh, and then at the end of it, if I remember, yeah, they say he's mentally ill for dressing up as a woman and wanting to spend time with his children. So then he needs supervised contact, obviously. I remember watching this as a child, and at the time I just thought it was cool to see, you know, Robin Williams dressing up as a Scottish nanny and, you know, pretending to be a woman. And, you know, it's a joke, isn't it? It's a joke. You know, that's the whole concept of the film. But looking at it now as an adult, it's really quite sad, you know, because this guy, he picks the kids up from school, he has fun with them, he has a great relationship with his children, he loves them, they love him, and there's no reason why they shouldn't spend time together. And the mother is the only thing that stands in the way of them spending more time together. And what I don't understand is, just because you break up with somebody and you stop having sex with them, why does that mean that you can't see the children? It doesn't make any sense. So the film starts off with Daniel walking out on a job because the cartoon's encouraging children to smoke and he doesn't agree with that. So Daniel started this house party that's kind of got out of control. And if you're going to marry Robin Williams, what do you expect? Do you know what I mean? It's like standard, isn't it? At least he's not got cocaine everywhere. So you got this situation where they've gotten into an argument and they're obviously not compatible for one another. You can see whether the relationship's deteriorated just because they have fundamentally different personalities. The focus of her life is having a career and taking things seriously, and the focus of his life is having a good time with his family. Yeah, now he's upset when his wife broke up with him. I wouldn't be that upset. It's more of a relief, because if anything, she's kind of getting in the way. By the way, if my teeth are yellow, it's because I'm eating this potato and I'm against a white backdrop, so my teeth aren't usually this yellow. So don't judge me. In the first court hearing, it says that Mr. Hillard has no place to live. So this is one of the big points about why there's so much parental alienation and why there's such huge, expensive custody battles, is because it's all based on property. Where are the children based at the time of the separation? And that's based on schooling. So because he left the family home, he is now at a huge disadvantage. It's going to be very difficult to be able to get those children, even if she's a bad mother, because they base it on the children's welfare, and the children's welfare is primarily based on housing. So whoever leaves the family home often loses. It's not always, but for the majority of cases. Yeah, so she gets sole custody. So this is where the children become property, essentially, and akin to property. And so it's basically sole ownership of the children, and he gets visitation. So he has visitation rights every Saturday. So he's gone from picking the children up after school and being a huge part of the family to now seeing them once a week. And imagine what that does to children. Forget the man for a second. What does that do to children? This court has just deprived the children of a loving father because of housing. And then Daniel makes the point that I make. Look, I've been with them every day since they were young, saying, look, I need them. I need to be with them. And he's saying, yeah, but the judge is like, this is a temporary thing. And that's how it starts. Oh, this is just temporary. You're just going to go here. Now you're 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 going to go bye. So now it comes on to him saying goodbye to his children, which is just heartbreaking, you know, in the films and in real life. There's no need for any of this. Just because two people stop having sex or they decide that they don't want to be together anymore, it doesn't mean to say that the children are owned by one parent and the other parent rarely gets to see them, if ever. I honestly think that people are more important than property, but the family court don't. So now that she's split up with Robin Williams, James Bond walks in at work, Pierce Brosnan himself. And so she gets all breathless and happy to see him and all that kind of stuff. And then there's this bit at the dinner table where he's now gone to seeing them every day, where everything was perfectly natural and things were going well and everything flowed, to now he only gets to see them for a limited amount of time. And so everyone's kind of like, we've got to go soon. There's a tense kind of underlying pressure at the dinner table because this is a very valuable amount of time that they have together before they have to be taken away again. Then there's this bit, again, I haven't seen this in years, but I get it now. Because at the time I was like, why is Robin Williams shouting and getting angry and having a go at his kids? Because that's not like him. And it's because the bitch was an hour early. I didn't realise that. And she bursts in the door without even knocking, and even though it's not her place, but I'm sure if he did that, that might be a problem. And then the bitch acts all condescending. Oh, Daniel, charming. So you broke up with him and broke his heart because he actually did like you. Then, instead of going to mediation and just coming up with some separated parenting agreement, you've taken him to court with a solicitor to get sole custody. So he's now homeless and he can't see his children and he's broke as a joke. And he's managed to get this place together and he's only just moved in by the looks of it. And he hasn't had a chance to do it up, and she comes in and the bitch criticises him. And she's an hour early. She's broken the agreement. But Robin Williams, being the absolute legend that he is, makes a joke of it and just brushes it off. It's not just disrespectful to the man. It's disrespectful to the children. It's disrespectful to the woman herself because she chose to be with that man. And if she no longer wants to be with that man, that's cool. But there's no need to be nasty. And then so she's just driving the dagger home more. Are my children ready yet? And then he corrects her. No, our children aren't ready yet. And she's like, I don't have time for this. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Well, go do it, bitch. I'll look after the kids like we were when we were married. This bitch has got so many other things that she'd rather be doing than taking care of her children. You know, she's even irritated by the fact that she has to drive out of her way to pick her kids up from her exes. It's disgusting. So she goes over, oh, are you guys all right? Are you okay? Picks up the food, smells it. Ugh. Like, oh, this bitch. Standard typical bitch shit. She's at work all the time and he used to take care of the kids all the time. So now she needs to replace him. So she's going to place an ad for a housekeeper. Well, he needs a job and she can obviously afford to pay him. He'd take care of the children for free anyway. And it's what he was doing before. She's essentially looking for someone to replace him. I know that I'm having a go at the woman here, but men do this as well. So this isn't a sex thing. This is being a dickhead thing. The whole time she's saying stuff, don't forget anything. I don't want to come back. Like, she is such a nasty human being. Even as she's leaving, she says, oh, I'd say go to the bathroom, but I don't think that'd be a good idea. Like, his place isn't even good enough to take a piss in. That's how condescending and nasty she is. So then he suggests the ultimate solution, which would make everybody happy.
Hey, Miranda, why don't you let me take care of the kids? I'll pick them up after school. They can be with me for a couple of hours, and then I'll drop them off at your house after work.
Yeah. Oh, Mom, that'd be great.
Please. Look, the kids love it.
It would save her money, and the children really want to do it. But she says,
Please. I'll think about it.
Which means, go fuck yourself. And the little girl, the loveliest little girl that's been in any film, comes up and says,
we're his goddamn kids too.
And she's absolutely right. But now this will be used in a court hearing saying that you're turning the children against the mother. This woman is obviously in a high-end job and she can afford all this, but there's a lot of women that can't. When two people separate, a lot of women end up, and men as well, it doesn't just, I'm using the word woman because there's a woman in this, but a lot of single parents are state dependent, so the taxpayer ends up paying. I mean, there's a lot of people that go to family courts. There's a huge amount that are disgusted at their ex and they take it out on their children. And I use the word disgusted very appropriately. They feel sick. They want to heave when they think of their ex. And so they take out all their anger and all their hate on their ex in front of their children and on their children. And then if the guy says, well, come on, that's a bit unfair, you shouldn't do that, then you're the one that has a problem. So you have to agree and do as mother says. When she honks her horn, you must go to the car. She has control of you. The whole of society pays for there to be single parents. Family breakdown costs around about, I think it's about 50 billion a year, and it rises by $1 billion every year. You see how this is much deeper than just two people breaking up? Because the whole idea of, let's say you don't love each other anymore, let's say that you've broken up, well, it doesn't mean to say you can't be friends. Why can't you be friends and civil? You be nice to a stranger. Why can't you just treat your ex like a stranger and just treat them civilly, like you would any normal person in the street with a certain level of respect? There's no need for all these comments. It's just petty child bullying. Although men do it as well, this primarily tends to be female. It's reputation destruction. That's the way in which women express aggression. Men do it by getting angry and shouting and hitting things. That's how men express aggression. Women do it by belittling, condescending, bullying and destroying somebody. So now Robin Williams has devised this plot about changing the number that the nannies can ring, so nobody's going to ring the right number. And he's putting on all these different voices to show her that there's all these different people out there. Because when you're inviting these people into your home, this is a complete stranger and you don't know anything about them. He's doing all this so that when Mrs. Doubtfire comes along, she's the obvious choice. I mean, I can do the voice, you know. Don't think I can't do the voice. Hello, you Virginia Doubtfire, dear. Oh, two little cherubs. I've been separated from my children for a very long time. Mrs. Doubtfire was very much on my mind. Hello. It's Doubtfire, dear. You Virginia Doubtfire. And watching this as an adult, it's interesting because all the bits that I found funny as a kid, I was just like, this is just so sad now. Because at the time, like Robin Williams dressing up as all these different people and doing these funny voices and all that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's brilliant, that's so funny, ha ha ha, funny man. Whereas now I look at it and I think, shit, he's doing all that so that he can pick his kids up from school to spend a couple of extra hours with them. How sad is that? And of course, he goes for the interview, and of course he passes with flying colours because he knows his way around the house and he knows the children like the back of his hand, and so everything's easy. And just watching it again now, like I say, as a kid watching it, I was like, oh, there's Robin Williams pretending to be a woman. But it's not the fact that he's pretending to be a woman. It's the fact that he's pretending to like his ex when she's been a right dickhead. That's the real achievement. And then because he's like cracking jokes and being happy and, you know, creating a joyous environment, she's like, you remind me of someone. And then there's this part where the girl comes out and she's like, look, I'm sorry for giving you hassle. It's just that, you know, I'm still a bit messed up by everything that's gone on. And he's like, you know, and it's so heartbreaking to watch this. I've like got tears in my eyes. It's like, it's such an emotional thing. Again, with the other little girl as well. It's just all the abandonment issues that parental alienation causes. It's disgusting. You know, children need a mother and a father. You know, you bring them into the world as a couple and you should raise them as a couple, even if you're not together. Just be mates, just get on well. You don't have to be best of friends. You don't have to sort of like, but you just have to be civil. Treat your ex like you would a stranger in the street. Just treat them with politeness, respect, regard, all that kind of thing. I'm going to say this now. If your mum and dad don't get on well, it's horrible. Whether they're together, whether they're broken up, it really makes no difference. And if your mum and dad do get on well, it doesn't matter if they're married, if they're divorced. Children just want their mum and dad to get on all right. And they want to be able to have an interdependent relationship with both of them. So parental alienation is absolutely, I feel it right here and here, it's disgusting. And there's a huge amount of people that make a huge amount of money in their profession to ensure that children can't get to see both parents. And then the girl's saying, look, you know, I want to thank you for making my mum so happy. She's never been so happy now that you're in the life. The mother is even happy when the father is in the life, even if it's not as an ex-lover. Once you get your head around the perception of, oh, it's my ex who I need to be angry at, if you just accept them as a complete stranger, like Mrs. Doubtfire, you don't treat them in the same way. It's all about what she's projecting onto him. It's got nothing to do with him because he's the same joke-a-minute dad he always was. He's just doing it as a woman this time. Oh, it's really difficult watching this. And then he says, thank you. It's that little light at the end of the tunnel that knows, because, I mean, imagine doing this. Imagine scribbling out the thing, doing all these different names, dressing up as a woman. You got to have balls to do that. The film actually say, look, you're going to need supervised visitation because that's a sign of mental illness. Because they do, they throw mental illness at everything. Oh, well, if he said something that was inappropriate or he looked at me in the wrong way, he's mentally ill. That's because mental illness, they can't get you on domestic violence, they get you on mental illness. And that's why this whole thing about, oh, if you are sad or depressed, you need to speak up. Well, you shouldn't, because it can be used as a reason why you can't see your children. And she's very critical. And when she comes out and gives her approval, so he's like, thank you, because he knows that he's doing the right thing. I mean, when we as the viewer know that he's doing the right thing. Then it comes to the part whereby he's coming along and he sees his ex getting together with James Bond, so he breaks the car. I think that's a bit petty. There's no need for that. I'd be very grateful. If I was him, I'd be very grateful to James Bond for taking her off of his hands. And then Mrs. Doubtfire gets caught out because it turns out that she has a dick. and one of the kids catches her having a piss. You know, and if you were playing the role correctly, you would shut the door, wouldn't you? I mean, you wouldn't stand up there taking a piss, but obviously it's part of the, you know, it had to happen in order for the kids to find out that it's really their dad. So the two oldest have found out. The little girl doesn't know. Now, this is a really interesting, sweet moment in the film where he's sitting down as Mrs. Doubtfire, having a chat with his ex about, you know, what went wrong in the relationship. And she's like, well, he was so funny and spontaneous and da-da-da-da-da. But then at one point, everything stopped being funny. At one point, she says, you know, he never knew, but some nights I just cried myself to sleep. And I think this is really sad because, again, I'm calling all these names and stuff like that, and you can see why she's resentful and pissed off and angry, and I can see things from her perspective. But this is why communication is so important in a relationship. You know, if it was the case that he was being slack and not pulling his weight and all that kind of stuff, just having a talk about something, just resolve, say, look, I've got this issue, I think I want to do this. If you are going to stay at home, can you make sure and have a party, can you make sure this, and this is done? It's just communication between the couple. And I think that communication is so important because you need that no matter who you're in a relationship with. And if you have children with somebody, you're always going to be in a relationship with somebody, whether you like them or not, whether you're together or not. And you're always going to need to communicate with that person. And if you don't, it's really going to hurt and upset the children, even into adulthood. My mum and dad don't get on with each other. You're always going to have this kind of inside of you. It's not nice to grow up with. And so if she has kept it to herself and she's not communicated that, which is what she's saying, this is based on what she said, not his interpretation. This is based on her confessions to Mrs. Doubtfire. She even admits she didn't even like who she was when she was with him. She'd turned into this horrible person. And this is the case. You know, it's almost a bit like chemistry. You know, fire doesn't go well with water, does it? There's some sort of, they're just two opposites. And I didn't want my children growing up with a mother like that. And when I'm not with Daniel, I'm better. The whole thing is all about her. And that's what I don't like. I don't like the fact that, well, my happiness is this. When you have children together, the children should be paramount and you're secondary. You and your partner have children and the children should be more important than your individual self-centered feelings. And then she goes on to say, I used to think Daniel could do anything except for be serious. But then she comes back again saying, but I was serious enough for everybody. So she knows her part in this. And I don't think there's any point in this film where she says sorry. Look, I'm sorry I did this. I'm sorry I didn't communicate. I'm sorry I made you homeless. I'm sorry I took the children away from you. I'm sorry that I badmouthed you. I'm sorry that I destroyed your life because I didn't know how to ask for what I wanted. There's none of that at any point. She's not seen as the bad guy in this film, and she should be, because she's done a lot of bad in this film. Now, he's not perfect, and she's not perfect, but what she's done is wrong. And now taking on the persona of Mrs. Doubtfire, and taking on the persona of needing to act a certain way in order to get to see your children, I think has really matured Daniel, because it's like, I need to take this seriously. If you didn't take things seriously before, okay, fine, you'll never get to see your children. Okay, you have my full attention. What is wrong with shared parenting? What is wrong with having the children half the week each? What is wrong with you having me all week, I'll have them all week? You know, or whatever the shared parenting arrangement is. Why is shared parenting such a bad thing? It's not. It's perfect for everybody. It helps the mother if she's got too much stuff going on, and if she's got a busy career, and if she wants to be strong, single and independent. And she wants to go see a new boyfriend, she can go do that. She can hang out with him. So now it comes back to, he's got his own place in order. He's tidied his room, Jordan Peterson style. He's got a nice cooked meal for the kids. He's interacting better with his ex. And let's see how it goes. His daughter recognises the effort he's made and says, I'm really proud of you. It's lovely. This time she knocks. And he says, thank you for knocking. So we've got politeness being established again. This is a theme I've seen in a couple of Robin Williams films. He plays this kind of man-child, and then his children make him kind of man up in a way and mature him. It's not just in this film, but there's another film called Hook, where he plays Peter Pan, you know, King of the Lost Boys. And then he has to go back to rescue his children from Captain Hook, which is played by Sally Field in this film. So now he's demonstrated that, look, this is what I can do. And she says, I'm very impressed. And then he's like, give me a second chance, okay? Let me take the kids after school. And this is what this is saying is be reasonable. But she's not going to be reasonable. And now she's bigging up Mrs. Doubtfire. And the two kids there, the eldest ones, the youngest one doesn't know, but the two eldest ones know that, well, that's Dad, you dickhead. Even at one point she says, we're doing so great, you know, without you. Even though he's the reason why you're doing so great, you fucking dickhead. Sounds like an amazing woman. Too good to be true. She is. Yeah, what he does, yeah, he chokes James Bond. Yeah, he puts some pepper or something he's allergic to or whatever. So he gives him the old Heim manoeuvre and he saves his life. But in saving his life, he reveals his true identity. And then obviously she gets mad because why wouldn't she? So now they go back to court. And yes, Your Honour, I have got a job. In fact, I've got a few of them. And I've not only held down a job, I've secured a residence and made it suitable for children. I've done everything you asked. So can I see my children now? And what does the judge say? You seem to love your children, but I think that's a good performance from an actor. And I think it would be harmful for children to spend time around you, and you need supervised contact. So she now gets full custody and he gets supervised contact. Even though he met the criteria far and beyond what the judge asked for at the previous hearing. Do you not see? Even when you do everything right, they'll still try and find a way in order for there not to be shared parenting. So now, because he wanted to spend time with his children, he's had to dress up in order to do it. He now needs psychiatric evaluation and mental health treatment. And this is all because he's not the resident parent. This is because he left the property. This is all this is. If he stayed in the property and should have left, it would be the other way around for most cases. So now Daniel, Robin Williams, gets a job on a TV show as Mrs. Doubtfire. So it was mentally ill of him to do it, but yet the corporate world will pay him loads of money to do it, to be a TV star, because of that creative genius that he has. Ooh. So now, get to the end of the film, his career is booming because of his creativity. And he can't see his children. He needs supervised access in order to be around them because of his creativity. It's disgusting. And to be fair to the mother in this film, she's not that bad. She said a few snidey comments. She was being a bit of a nasty bitch. Do you know what I mean? She was heartbroken and upset and angry and frustrated and taking it out on her ex-partner and her children. She's not a bad person. Like, you can tell when she's in the courtroom that she's like in her face, like, oh, I thought it was a good idea to come to court and have a solicitor and, you know, we'll get a good parenting arrangement. And you can just see in her face that she's like, something's not quite right here. This shouldn't be happening. Yeah, he's a dickhead, but this is wrong. And when you go to a family court, it's a very bad idea because you're handing over your rights, your responsibility for yourself and for your family. You're going and asking a complete stranger to judge your relationship. And it's a very combative way of dealing with a very delicate issue, which is dealing with broken hearts after a separation. And then near the end of the film, the mother has this epiphany. It's like, I know that you and I will get through this, but I don't want to hurt our children. It's only just occurred to her. She's not a bad person. She's like been a bit of a dickhead throughout the whole film. She's had snarky comments, sarcastic comments. And so she's just doing standard bitch stuff, being a bit of a dickhead. But like, there are some women that are really evil. There are some women that enjoy seeing their children get hurt. There are some people that take it way too off the radar. And they push for that. She's kind of realised that, oh, I went for this, and this is the system has kind of done this to Daniel. I haven't really done this. And then she kind of steps in at the end and says, hang on a minute, Your Honour, this isn't fair, and they've put it right. But in a lot of cases, women are going out and they proactively want to hurt their ex, and they'll hurt their children, and it will make them happy. And it's really disgusting. It's evil. She's not evil. She's just been hurt and heartbroken and disappointed and being a bit of a dickhead throughout the whole film. But there are some evil mothers in this world, and they will take advantage of the system because the system is designed to extract one of the parents anyway. And also, I don't want to just make it sound like I'm bad-mouthing mothers and women. Men do this as well. They take advantage of the system, of the fact that when there's a separation and it goes to court, they're going to throw one parent away. And usually the parent that wants to go to court is the one that thinks that they're going to win. But it's not a battle, because nobody wins. It's not a case of who wins. It's a case of who loses the most. Over time, it may feel good in the short term, but over time, everybody loses. She says the children were happier when Mrs. Doubtfire was a part of their lives. So again, now she's starting to empathise with her own children. This is miraculous for some people, you know, because they think of themselves primarily, and they'll step on their children to get what they want. And so now this woman is starting to have this epiphany and thinks, hang on a minute, maybe it's not all about me and my feelings. Maybe I shouldn't be so unreasonable. Now, unless she has this epiphany, then the system would have sentenced him to a year before he could appeal it anyway, to have this supervised contact, where if he goes to hug his children, somebody makes a note of it and wonders, why is he hugging the children? You know, it's disgusting. Why all this? Just because somebody doesn't want to fuck you anymore? How does it come to this? Because of housing. It's all down to housing and status quo. Property is more important than children. That's what the family court believe, and that's how they act. And this mother at the end of the film, she has this epiphany that, oh, the kids need you. Like, she wakes up from this haze of anger and resentment and nastiness, and and she wakes up and she's, oh, what about what the children want? It's because the court aren't going to do what's best for the children. The courts say that they do, but then they won't reveal the contents and the details of each case. So the court have authority without any responsibility. So when they mess up children's lives, it's not my fault. That's what that attitude of the court is. It's like, oh, that's somebody else's judgment or somebody else. Professionals will chuck children from one professional to the next. It's disgusting. So at the end of the day, it's really based on the parents and they're cooperating with each other and being reasonable with each other and helping each other out and being cooperative instead of combative. But there's a huge amount of money that's invested to make sure that parents are combative, so that money can be made from professionals interfering with the children. So you've got solicitors, judges, social workers, daycare, childminders, like all this comes in, all this amount of adoption agencies, all this money gets made through jobs, through breaking up families. In the UK alone, 50 billion a year is spent on family breakdown, and it rises by $1 billion every year. And that's just in the UK. We're a small country. So God knows what it's like in America and other parts in the Western world. And so at the end of the film, she's like, your dad's going to take you for a few hours every day after school. Like what he suggested at the beginning of the film, that the children wanted and he wanted. But she was like, I'll think about it. Well, it's taken the whole film to think about it. But, you know, you're lucky because she's woken up from being a dickhead and she's decided to be a nice person. You have got people who are dickheads and people who are nice people. And you've got to be more of a nice person, because we're all capable of being a dickhead. That's easy. Let's be nice. And at the end of the film, the kids are like, what about the courts? And the mother's like, I took care of it. It's like, yes. Isn't that wrong? Isn't that wrong? That she has the power to be able to do that. Everything revolves around what the single parent mother wants. Again, it can be the single parent father. It's whoever's in the house at the main residency of the children. And that's why there's a lot of domestic violence in order to get fathers out the family home so that the women can have the children so they can get the money and the housing that they want after a separation. That's why there's a lot of domestic abuse goes on, because women create it in order to get rid of the man. They'd either get rid of the man from the family home so that they can have the children and then get money and housing and their way in family court as sole parenting and sole custody, or they'll take the children out the house when they leave, leaving the guy in the house, so that and they'll get put in a refuge or somewhere else. But they have to have the children no matter where they go so that they can get the money and the housing after a separation. And that's where the domestic abuse is like really strong. But then they're seen as victims because they're claiming, they make false claims about domestic abuse so that they can then get all the money, the children and the housing. So they can maintain power and control. So there's a lot of coercive controlling behaviour, that's what it's called in this country, that goes on. And these mothers are criminals with what they're doing in family court, and they get away with it. So in a criminal court, what's happened as a matter of fact is what's important beyond reasonable doubt. And in a family court, what hasn't happened is an issue based on feelings. Like, because he never hurt his children, but there's concern for his mental health of what he might do. Oh, he might do this. I'm worried about the children. He might pose a danger to the children. It's this imaginary land. Nothing has actually happened and everything's fine. Nothing has to happen. It's all based on feelings of the judge, of the mother. Feelings, feelings, feelings. It's disgusting. What's actually happened? Nothing's wrong. There's not a problem. So the family court come in and they make a problem to make lots of money out of it. And at the end of the film, Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire gives this beautiful little speech. But really, there's no need for any of this. That's what I don't get about it. So if you haven't seen Mrs. Doubtfire for a few years, go back and watch it and view it with new eyes, because it's not just a comedy where Robin Williams dresses up as a woman and it's all fun and games and shenanigans. It's also a very important film about how family breakdown affects people and how much parental alienation is created and is just so unnecessary. All it takes is for parents to be reasonable, but some parents just refuse to be reasonable. The only reason why this film has a happy ending is because one of the parents, the one that had the power, the mother, decided to be reasonable. But in real life, things aren't like that.